You've heard it all your life, and not just from your mother, although you probably did hear it from your mother. You have such a great voice. Did you ever think of doing voiceover? Let's demystify this fun, flexible industry here on the VoiceOver Pod with Justine Reiss, brought to you by Suchavoice. I'm Justine, and I'll be your host for the next 30 minutes or so, where we will talk to people that have sat in your shoes and then became successful in the voiceover industry. We'll talk to people who hire voiceover talent. We'll talk about recording, sound, auditioning, casting. We're going to share some stories, we're going to share some secrets, and then, who knows, you may be my next guest.
Top of the field and a celebrity, let's say, and they don't even have to be a celebrity, but they've got that quality. Mm-hmm. It's very simple. It's point of view, and that's the thing that we hear. I think on a like a dog hears ultrasonic. Like that's what we hear as humans, as a sub-frequency is this individual has a point of view. I can hear the mind at work, and that's really interesting to me as a human. That's why, why do we love Meryl Streep? You can sit there and just stare at the camera and do nothing. The other one used to get me, I used to see Ellen DeGeneres in a restaurant I went to at lunch. I wasn't sitting with her. I didn't know her. She would sit across the room and I'd be giggling because I'd be like, that woman's funny just sitting at because you could see her taking in the world as her.
Yeah.
And that's the it factor. But you if you want to distill the it factor, what is it? It's a point of view.
Yeah.
So I have I've been very fortunate to represent, I have a lot of amazing non-celebrity clients. Some of them are celebrities in the voiceover realm. And then I have an extensive celebrity client list. And I've represented, Academy Award winners, Grammy winners, Emmy winners. I got the EGOTs. I got, I'm super lucky to have been able to work with these people. When you get a celebrity client in the booth, and this thing is shocking to non-celebrity clients, but I would think everybody should try to achieve this. But if I say, to my, God rest his soul, my client had asked her, I said, hey, give me Ed's read. He knew what that meant. He knew what the celebrity. And maybe that's not Ed Asner at home. Maybe that's not Ed the dad. Maybe that's not Ed the grandfather, the father, but there was a version of Ed that he could turn on with a switch and bring to the table. And that point of view was the reason why someone was willing to pay him 6 or 7 figures to do this thing versus someone over here, a couple $100.
So, Ed is amazing. I actually I do know his daughter. I do know his daughter who knows him as a dad. I'm very fortunate to have met her. But I think that what I'm getting from you, and I'm very proud to be in the sort of the business of helping people find their voices. I'm particularly interested in helping women find their voices. And I think you can use these tools in voiceover. They're going to help you in your whole life to really own this instrument that is your powerhouse. It's your confidence box. It is all of these things, and it can start with the voice. And so I'm very pleased to know that what I think we are doing by what I call the table legs, and tell me if you agree with this, is you've got to get good coaching and training to find that authentic voice. We build demos using the things that you like, the things that you are charismatic about, so that your demo can represent even more easily the things that you love, your passions, your compassion. Then there's the marketing piece you've got to learn about, which is a little different than what you do. But to eventually, yes, get to an agency, but to be able to come in with a body of work. Like Wes said, you're not going to be able to have just a great demo and a good studio and not have the body of work. You've got to start working. And then there's, obviously the knowledge of working the studio, having good demos, and then the idea of marketing. And then I like to say a tablecloth of community, which is harder to find these days, but talk a little bit about the difference between what's happening in the industry, that you did shift into doing some more non-union stuff out of necessity because there was too much out there. Do you feel that there was an unfair thing going on in the voiceover industry that was being sort of held by the union that was not going to work with the marketplace.
No, I think the union has provided extraordinary protection, and they have codified. So one of the things we wrestle with newcomers to the process of booking a voice is a fundamental understanding of the IP that is the performance. So, and that intellectual property should be compensated for across the initial session, but then also, hey, what is your intended exploitation of this performance? Oh, my intended exploitation is a radio commercial. Okay, great. Well, then based off of that, we get paid to do this thing as a radio commercial. But then that does not mean by virtue of you writing a check for that radio commercial, you now have a right. And how long do you want to run that for? I want to run that for 13 weeks. Okay, great. Well, that's worth this amount of money. Sessions that should not equal, oh, now I get to do anything and everything I want to do with this read, including dissecting it, lifting it, putting it on TV, putting it on my website, putting it on my voicemail system. Oh, you know what? We're actually going to use this to program an AI system so that we can do our entire. I mean, I'm being a little.
I know, but
this is also where we're headed. It's why Johansson, just this week is upset about things. It's why, look, I represent the original series, Susan Bennett. She did not know what she was recording when she recorded for the better part of 6 months. And then her voice showed up on a phone. And I think Apple's attitude towards that, and this is much of the attitude I have found intersecting with the technology entities who are not necessarily entertainment entities, is it's a data set. We bought it. We can do anything we want with it. And it's like, but that's not what the artist showed up to do. Now, if the artist signs an agreement that says, my voice is a data set, do whatever you want with it, game over. That's fine.
Yeah. Yep.
But if the artist showed up and said, well, I was doing voice prompts for what I thought was a telephonic, a system or a GPS, again, it should all be defined in an agreement. Then the ancillary uses, it shows up in a TV commercial, it shows up on a TV show, it shows up. I mean, this is some of the stuff we've dealt with Siri. We've had to go after, payments for use in television, payments for use in commercials, payments for use in, film. And we've secured those for her, it hasn't happened with Apple's support because, and she was lucky. I mean, she was fortunate in that the agreement she signed was very open-ended and without an NDA. Subsequent series have signed much more confining agreements. But so my point is, like, the beauty of the union is they codified all these uses off of, hey, look, you can do this session. They're going to pay this, but these are all this is the a la carte list of menu items of, if you use this here, they get paid this. If it's used in this market, it's this amount. If it's for this amount of time, it's that. And so I think there's a great comfort in being under a union contract. A non-union contract, we do them at this juncture because, we're staring at, networking gatherings for the agency, and clients are saying to us, oh, I did it. Actually, I think I know who this person was. I think you were the inspiration. You were one of the inspirations.
You told me I was. You told me.
You were standing there and you're like, oh, I just did this Toyota thing. And I made, like, I'm not going to say them a dollar amount, but Tom and I looked at each other like, for how long? And he told us the amount of time. Where's it playing? He told us where it's playing. And we're like, Tom and I are like, that's pretty much right on par with what it should be. Now there was a window where that had to happen. And I think we are kind of there. Now, the way I'll say is, for the agent side of the equation, we have to work much harder when we get the phone call from the buyer to create that alignment on, like, hey, this is worth this amount. And it's a little bit of a back, whereas, the union gig, there's not as much of that back and forth. Sure. We're on the same page, but, and then the union gig, we have to codify the thing and protect the client and put, guardrails around how long, where, how are you using this. So it's a little frustrating, and there is a little bit of battle, and you lose some ground. Anytime you're going to go back and forth, you're going to hope you're going to get ground over here, you're going to lose ground over here. And then you have bad actors. Like, I don't mean like performers. I mean like bad actors, as in like people that don't play by the rules. So the democratization of our marketplace also meant, you know, the baselines went down because there were people that were willing to do a gig out of desperation to enter marketplace, trying to be ultra competitive, and they undercut.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard to put the genie of quotes and rate gains back in the bottle. So we have seen a lot of that, I do think that the buyer gets what they pay for.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that's brought it back. We definitely saw some unpleasant backlash in the market. Well, that has gone on over the years here and there, and it still goes on. But we've
done a great service, I think, to all voiceover union and non-union by helping to create a system around some of the non-union work. And I think that that's becoming more challenged and more knowledgeable to the voice actor that's on their own.
I hope so. But I will say I'd rather it all go union. I mean, I just don't.
Yeah,
there's no pension. There's no. I mean, like look, and the unionists, I've gotten frustrated with them in certain junctures. And at the end of the day, both agent and talent are better off in this. As long as the union's smart about things. I mean, that's part of it too, is like the union has to be relevant and current, and the marketplace changes. I mean, we're facing, the next piece is going to be, AI is coming. There's no way around it. Is it going to replace everything? Absolutely not. I
want to highlight that statement. Because it's now I've stopped waiting for the question. I just get the elephant in the room, because especially when I'm teaching across the country, we all want to know. And I agree with you 100%. So you validated that again, and I've talked to very major casting directors in LA about this that do video games and stuff. They are saying the same thing. We still need the human. You can't direct AI. They're not human. And I don't think it will ever end. And I haven't seen less voiceover auditions. That's the other thing I wanted to tell them.
We haven't seen it because the technology isn't there yet. There is a version of the technology that is coming imminently, like soon, 3 to 5 years. Artificial general intelligence is the next iteration, and that is an artificial intelligence that really does think on its own.
Yeah.
As that iteration comes, I don't know exactly how it's going to work. There'll be nuances that it may be able to create that we right now. I've sampled, and there's always new stuff coming online, but I've sampled some of the AIs on the voice side, and they're good at. You can pick an emotion or a tonality, and it can do that, and it can do it very convincingly. It sounds like it sounds real-ish.
Yeah,
because you say to it, "Hey, I want the soliloquy from Hamlet." Why? Because the AI is not yet in a place, and this is what I mean, like it would have to have a more facile mind to be able to be a mama's boy with serious daddy issues, who's 30-something-year-old, in love, probably sexually conflicted on a number of levels, very angsty, and happens to be an heir to a kingdom. I mean, that's a lot of shadow. That's a lot of layers. That's a lot of nuance of
acting,
of mind. What we talked about, authenticity, mind. That there's so much that goes into performance that's not said or even seen, but that is like, if you're really personifying the character, great actors are inhabiting an authentic intellectual space internally. That how do you teach? I mean, maybe watching great performances, these thinking entities will take on form of that.
Well, let's leave that there.
It's not there yet, but I do think there's a space to not fear AI. AI is about prompting. And I think there's a space where anyone who's not using artificial intelligence right now across the various sectors of their business is foolish, because one has to get up to speed. So right now, the way we use AI is to prompt for outcomes. So it's about, we are the input element that creates an outcome. I think voice actors would be smart to start to be aware of what's going on and be aware of the fact that there's going to be a space for great prompter. There's going to be a space for great baseline performances that drive a complete performance, and it's compensated for. So it's coming.
But I think what it speaks to more than anything is you got to get coached and trained, because you got to be good. You got to be better than I am.
So look, coaching and training is, look, I'm a 20-some year CEO of a company, 30 years in the business. I have multiple coaches personally.
Yeah.
I have, one coach who specifically is across kind of a mind, body, spirit aspect of things, coaching everything from billionaires to small business guys, but all people, in the leadership capacity within their companies, and teaching me that, like, to some of our point here, my ability to lead a company is multidimensional. It's not just, profit and loss statements, balance sheets, CRMs. And I mean, some of it's like, what is going on in the internal landscape of Wes Stevens to make me be a more effective human and better leader. And I got another coach who is more across, specifically a body of CEOs and an advisory board, and more practical, day-to-day business stuff. But why do I have coaches? For the same reason talent should have coaches, which is, if I rely upon my own internal dialogue as the sole driver of adjustment and refinement, and and also just like insight, I'm basically operating in an echo chamber, and I'm not going to improve, because I'm just going to constantly, I'm either going to constantly be putting myself down, or I'm constantly be building myself up, or some version thereof. But it was without feedback. It is without direction. It is without the ability for someone to say, hey, what if you just did this? What if you backed off the mic? Hey, did you know you popped your P's? Oh, I had no idea. Well, here's a way you could stop that. It's like,
Right.
Essential.
What would be, I also, I'm just going to pull one line out of your bio, because I love that you thrill at the opportunity to connect the right talented people with each other. And I really appreciate you for that. And let's just wrap with, what would be some words of advice to somebody who's getting started in the industry, wherever they may live, in some little town in Kansas or in a bigger city? What would be the 1, 2, or 3 things you might say to think about as entering the voice talent pool today?
Well, it goes back to my origin story. And then it goes back to your question, like, how do people get into our agency? And, when I've guest spoke at universities and stuff, I always tell that story about Jack Rollins and, who do you know, kid? I don't know anybody. Well, that's bad. And I tell a story, and like, kids get horrified. Like, well, what if I don't know anybody? And the reality is, I learned, is like, everybody knows somebody.
Yeah.
There is a place to start. And, one of the things that you folks provide, a number of other groups provide, whether it's Sovas and, there's a bunch of organizations out there. You don't have to search very far these days to find community and to start networking and get to know people and get to know what's going on in the marketplace. Like, your market research is your peers. Your market research is what's on the air. Your market research is, you can pretty much get to the demos of your biggest competitors at every agency right online. Like, all of them have demo shelves that Vox's demo shelf is publicly available to look at. Yep. There's no excuse. If you don't know who your competitors are on my client list, you didn't do research. Whose fault that? Not mine. So, it's like, who do you know, kid? If you say no one, that's your own fault. And everyone can say, well, I live in, It doesn't matter. You are an email, a text, a DM, a plane ride, a convention away from having some people, or pay someone. Like, someone that's like, I want some coaching. Okay, I'm going to call Justine Reiss. I'm going to get some coaching from her. Now you know somebody. You may have had to pay for it, but you're in the door. And if you bring in some good, that person's going to support you.
You have to invest in yourself, and there's no question of it. And
that involves. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, but that's where the coaching comes into play, and that the investment in self is an investment in aligning the inner landscape to the outer voice. Vox, our catchphrase for many years, is still there, is listen to your inner vox, because vox is Latin for voice. And I do believe the inner voice is the outer voice. And if this thing is not aligned and synced up, and you're not having good hygiene on the inner landscape, the mind, the heart,
yes,
then the stuff that's going to come out here is always going to sound a little off, a little not off. It's not going to book. I've seen it. It doesn't book. The other story I was going to tell you real quick.
I say, right, your heart center, your emotions, it's like a circle, and it needs to start here. Our job as voice talent is to bring emotion into other people's words. So if you're not in touch with your own emotions, like your inner voice, you're not connected to the inner voice, as Wes says, you won't get in control of your outer message, or certainly someone else's outer message. And let's wrap with your story.
So the third piece is, and I'll tell the story, but the third piece is a point of view. So, with the coaching, with the getting the alignment of the inner voice, the out of that becomes the confidence and the presence of mind to be able to look at every script and know what your take on it is. And that's what's going to sell and going to book. Yeah, there's a story going back to like the beer story we told her. So I client named Joe Lasky's passed away. He was the voice of Daffy and Bugs, and a prolific voice guy. And he had never, he really wanted a car commercial. And he never wanted. Joe didn't drive. He didn't know how to drive.
Interesting.
So he goes and works with Maurice Tobias, and she does some really interesting techniques with like character detours. And then she does a technique with like replacing things you love and kind of overlay. I'm not the teacher. It's overlay.
I do it too. Yeah. It's like, you don't love coffee.
He did his car reads thinking about ice cream, and he booked a car campaign.
There you go. Love that.
But that was but what did he bring to the table there? Joe brought tremendous skill, tremendous sense of self, a point of view. And he brought, okay, so maybe ice cream isn't a car, but he found the thing that evoked the authenticity of passion and love for that car. And he injected it into the read. And that's where the acting piece comes in. We do create suspension of disbelief. That's our job.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
But then there's this other piece that we have to do now that I never had to do when I started, and I was booking a ton. Our sound has to be great.
Yes. Yeah.
My belief is you don't watch a bunch of YouTube videos. Get a professional to listen to you, help you with your sound floor and all the things. And that is imperative, because you could have the greatest voice and the greatest acting, but if the sound's not there, Wes, no one's going to.
Yeah, we'd so funny because we have clients sometimes who put up a fight about improving their studio or this or that. And it's like, dude, what?
Exactly. You got
the first thing the producer's hearing, even if the voice is great, the first thing they hear, because we're listening to stuff all day as people, is, so it sounds like it sounds like you're in a tunnel. What is that? Why are you scratchy? What's that noise in the background?
Yeah, and that's, for the most part, we're working at the home studio. So if it's not on the audition, if you don't have it in the audition, they're not gonna trust that you can do it. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to do a part 2 to kind of take this a step further, because there's so much to talk about in this industry. And just, what are you excited about? Your next venture, Wes?
We just brought in a VP of endorsements, and I'm very excited about continuing to expand that area with her. And our animation and gaming area is growing. It's always done really well, but we see some expansion in that. Commercials are steady. I'm interested to see the business's entertainment as a whole is in a pretty unpleasant contraction at the moment. We will get through this. I think on the other side of it, with consolidation of some of the streamers and a kind of a rebalancing of what the outlets are, what is this cinematic window compared to the streaming window going to be? I mean, once all of these things, and yes, the interesting thing for your listeners is like, why is the voiceover guy talking about this stuff? Like, if you're not thinking about this stuff as a voice artist and you're not aware of the competitive landscape of media that you exist in, you're not really taking this seriously. Like this is it. Like, I have to be aware of these things in order to lead a company, and each of you as individuals is your own individual entity, as a company. And so you need to have this kind of broad leadership perspective in order to lead yourself through the marketplace. But I think we'll get through this contraction. I think we probably have sadly, we probably have a full year. Some are saying even 2. I don't know. I don't know if I can palate that at the moment to think about, but I do think there is a different golden era of media and opportunity on the other side of it. We just need to figure out the lay of the land. So yeah, I mean, a lot of what we're doing right now is not so much what am I excited about next as remaining nimble and being able to pivot and respond to the marketplace and not being scared of it, not running around chicken with the head cut off, and ready for what is next.
Being nimble, flexible, and ready to pivot. Thank you so much, Wes. You can find Wes Stevens, I'm sure, on LinkedIn and all the places. And of course, if you want to look up Vox, they're a wonderful voiceover talent agency in Los Angeles.
VoxUSA.net. And yeah, Vox is on Facebook. Vox is on Instagram. Vox is on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. You got it.
Great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Justine. Have a good day.
You too.
Okay.
If you want to learn more about what it takes to become a working voiceover actor, come to an intro class or schedule a voice evaluation with Justine. You can contact her at Justine Reiss at suchavoice.com. That's JUSTINEREISS at suchavoice.com. Or check out our website at suchavoice.com. If you like the podcast, subscribe to this channel or leave a review. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.